Hello, folks. Clearly annoyed at the behavior of South Africa, particularly over the insult to the Chargé d'Affaires, Mr. Dillard, at our embassy in South Africa, who is a senior diplomat, one of the most seasoned diplomats on the planet, a former chargé elsewhere, acting instead of a missing ambassador. The senior representative representing the President of the United States being insulted by South Africa. Donald Trump has had enough. He's had enough. And now he's poured kerosene on the fire and the flames of the South Africa-U.S. diplomatic relationship with some very strong language. Trump says, at my direction, South Africa will not be receiving an invitation to the 2026 G20 summit, which will be hosted in the great city of Miami, Florida, next year. South Africa has demonstrated to the world they are not a country worthy of membership anywhere. That is some very strong language by President Trump, issued on the 26th of November 2025, the day prior to Thanksgiving. And that's really a shocker. Well, as would be expected, the government of South Africa responded. The Office of the Presidency, Cyril Ramaphosa, issued a statement just a couple hours after that. It's a largely measured response. I mean, it's not actually that bad in much of its content. However, a portion of it should be addressed here because what they say isn't what they do. Specifically, South Africa's statement from the presidency said South Africa is a member of the G20 in its own name and right. True. Its G20 membership is at the behest of all the other members. True. South Africa is a sovereign, constitutional, democratic country and does not appreciate insults from another country about its membership and worth in participating in global platforms. Well, that's a fair statement. I'm not going to take exception to that. It is a sovereign country, and it shouldn't take insults. But it makes insults. Now, they claim that South Africa respects the sovereignty of all countries and will never insult or demean another country or its standing and worthiness in the community of nations. Really? Is that true? Let's go to the film.
To pursue the agenda of white supremacy.
You think Trump is pursuing a white supremacist agenda?
Yes, I think so.
Now, that's South Africa's foreign minister in a CNN documentary called Misinformation, White Genocide, aired on 16 November as the G20 Summit Week was starting, where the foreign minister calls the President of the United States. So you say that you're not insulting, you respect the sovereignty and will never insult or demean another country. Well, you just did. Never mind, of course, Ibrahim Rasool, your accredited ambassador in Washington, D.C., calling America racist, and Donald Trump the leader of global white supremacy, for which he was persona non grata kicked out of the United States. So what do you mean you will never demean or insult another country? That's two instances of it. Let's go to some more film.
Well, without the United States, the whole process of the G20 is moving forward.
You will not be bullied.
We will not be bullied. We will not agree to be bullied. Thank you.
So here's Ramaphosa coming out of an event at the G20 this past week in which he's posed a statement, not a question, by a reporter saying, you will not be bullied. And instead of taking a diplomatic approach and saying, no, what are you talking about? We're a sovereign country. The United States is a sovereign country. We have differences of opinion on certain issues. No one can bully us. We're not bullying anyone. They're not bullying us. We'll resolve these issues. That would have been a diplomatic approach. But instead, he tries to make light of it and make a joke. And now let's take a look at this situation where President Ramaphosa announces falsely that the United States is going to come to South Africa's G20 party after all.
We have received notice from the United States, a notice which we are still in discussions with them over, about a change of mind about participating in one shape, form or other in the summit.
Either falsely interpreting the note verbal that came from the embassy or intentionally misleading the world. But nonetheless, mocking the United States and laughing about its now desire to participate, which wasn't true, at the expense of America. But South Africa, in their presidency statement, says that South Africa respects the sovereignty of all countries and will never insult or demean another country or its standing. Really? That's not what this video shows.
As you have said with regards to the program of a refugee, when you look at it, it's race-based. Firstly, you must be a white South African, And secondly, you must be an Afrikaner.
And what about the umbrage that South African politicians took, including Sir Ramaphosa himself and Ronald Lamola and John Steenhuisen, calling one of our most seasoned diplomats a junior official, the president's personal representative? Yet they say they will respect the sovereignty of all countries and will never insult or demean another country. The way to approach this would have been, as I've said in previous broadcasts, this is a state-to-state event. Given that the United States does not have the head of state here or one of the cabinet members, we feel it's inappropriate to do the handoff of the G20 to any other official. Therefore, we'd like to transfer it to your senior representative from the embassy, your charge d'affaires. That would have been diplomacy. But no, they insulted a man with decades more experience than any of these people in the ANC. One of the most seasoned and qualified diplomats on the planet. And finally, let's go here. This is with a South African Broadcasting Corporation executive, apparently, who starts off by claiming, hey, bad things are happening. Watch this.
Because as you know, there are a lot of very bad things happening. Very bad things.
Terrible things.
Very terrible things
It's a disgrace.
Once again, South Africa claims in its statement for the presidency in response to President Trump's mention that they will not be invited to next year's Leaders Summit in Miami, they say that South Africa respects the sovereignty of all countries and will never insult or demean another country. Perhaps they don't understand the word insult or the word demean. You're clearly mocking the President of the United States. And there's so many other instances this year of this happening. So how can they say it with a straight face? How can anybody believe them? Now, don't give me the whataboutism. Trump has got a potty mouth. Trump says this. We're not talking about Trump. We're talking about the actions of South African politicians, specifically in the week, with the exception of Ibrahim Rasool, in the week of the G20, when they claim they're negotiating a better trade deal. That's a lie. They take people for suckers. You decide for yourself. And don't give me the whataboutism. What's really going on here? South Africa is not living up to the standards it sets for itself. The politicians aren't. The ANC's not. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi? Cheers.